you're gonna be first grade, and today we are gonna be talking about themes and main ideas. So our goal by the end of this is to be able to determine the key details that make up the main idea and how to find the theme. Um, so we're gonna play a game called It's in the Bag. I do not have my bags for this. So what we're gonna be doing is I'm gonna have each of you guys come up and fish one of our key details, and then I want you to share with the class what you got, and then tell me what you think the theme of in the big picture of our little bag is. So who wants to come up first?
Do I pick anyone?
Any of these.
Okay.
So what'd you get?
I got goggles.
Okay.
And then I explain what theme.
What do you think the big idea of our bag is?
Goggles. Maybe water, because goggles you use when you swim.
Yeah, that's a good idea. You can set this here.
Awesome.
Okay. Yes, yeah.
I got sunscreen.
Okay. What do you think our big picture is?
Well, like being outside and swimming.
Being outside, swimming. That's a good call.
Here's the goggles.
Okay, Jordan. A kite. Maybe it's like the beach. Maybe the beach, yeah, to go with the sunscreen and the goggles. Okay. So that's all. I'll pull these ones. So sand toys.
Oh yeah, that's
beach.
The beach. You think our theme's the beach? Okay. Towel.
Yeah.
Beach.
Okay, and then a shovel.
Yeah, beach.
So the big idea of our bag is the beach, right? You guys did great getting that one.
Yay.
So what can be a sentence that explains our big picture, our theme of the beach with these key details?
I went to the beach and flew my kite, then used my goggles and put sunscreen on before I went in the water.
Yeah. So that is a good sentence. What do you think? Can you summarize that for me in one short sentence? What are all these key details for?
I had a fun day at the beach in the sun and in the water.
Yeah, that works great. That's a perfect sentence. So then our main idea of this bag is that we went to the beach and we had fun, right? That's our main idea, where our theme is the beach. So we're gonna try this with one more. You guys wanna come up and pick one? I got classic socks. Maybe the big idea is clothes. Clothes. That's a good thought.
I got gloves.
Gloves.
Maybe it's like winter and you want to be warm.
Yeah. That's a good guess.
Blankets. I think that the main theme is staying warm.
Staying warm.
Mm-hmm.
That's a pretty good idea. So what we have left is a scarf. I think that supports our main idea, or our theme of winter and winter clothes. And then we have earmuffs and a jacket. Do those all support
Yes.
our big idea? Okay. Can you guys tell me maybe a sentence, like we did with the beach, to describe our main idea?
We gotta start doing that.
This winter it was really cold So I wore extra layers.
So we were actually, yeah, so it's really cold in the winter, so we bundled up with extra clothes, right?
Yes.
That's great for our main idea. So what we're gonna do next is I'm gonna give you each one of these in the bag items, and you're going to explore it and discover the topic, and then write the details. So what are those key details I give you? And then you're going to write a short sentence about what you think the main idea is.
Thank you. I'm gonna write with my left hand, I think it's more official.
I'll write with my right hand.
Thank you.
It'll take me forever if I try to do that.
You guys have any questions?
Not yet.
The topic, I know it says topic up there, but it's going to be our theme for it. Remember, our theme is just a broad, general topic, and then our main idea is going to be a short sentence about that topic, based on your key details that you are finding. And when you're done, you can give me a thumbs up. You all done? You all done?
Or thumbs up, sorry. I'm sorry.
Okay. Do you guys want to share what you got? What did you get?
I got a soccer, a baseball, a cleats, tennis racket, tennis shoes, and glove. And I said that my main theme is sports, and my main idea is I played lots of sports.
Your main idea is that you play lots of sports.
Yes.
That's a pretty good idea. That is a main idea. You could get out of there. Is there another one you think you could get? Those are all equipment. They're all things that you use to play in sports, right?
Yeah.
So maybe our main idea could be supplies we need for sports.
Oh, I got ready to play different sports?
Yeah.
Okay.
Alright, what'd you get?
So my details were a remote control, DVD, soda, popcorn, candy, and pretzels. And so I think that this is a movie night because it's a DVD, so it's like not at the theater. And I said I had a movie night and ate a lot of treats.
Yeah, that's great. What'd you get?
I got sauce, peppers, pepperoni, cheese, mushrooms, and pineapples. And my couple got some food, and my main idea was like for lunch I had a pizza with waffles.
Yeah. So that is a great main idea for your topic, though. I feel like you could be a little more specific. What kind of food do all of those go on? I know you mentioned it in your main idea.
Pizza.
So yeah, pizza. So those are all pizza toppings, right? So that could be one of your theme for that is a pizza topping. You guys did really good. So for you guys today, thinking about what our main idea is and what our theme is, I have this book. It's called Enemy Pie. Have you guys heard of this book?
Yes.
Okay, so while we're going through, I want you guys to look for the key details and try and think what those key details mean in relevance to the theme and the main idea. It should have been a perfect summer. My dad helped me build a treehouse in our backyard. My sister was at camp for 3 whole weeks, and I was on the best baseball team in town. It should have been a perfect summer, but it wasn't. It was all good until Jeremy Ross moved into the neighborhood, right next door to my best friend Stanley. I did not like Jeremy Ross. He laughed at me when he struck me out in a baseball game. He had a party on his trampoline, and I wasn't even invited. But my best friend Stanley was. Jeremy Ross was the one and only person on my enemy list. I never even had an enemy list until he moved into the neighborhood. But as soon as he came along, I needed one. I hung it up in my treehouse, where Jeremy Ross was not allowed to go. Dad understood stuff like enemies. He told me that when he was my age, he had enemies. But he knew a way to get rid of them. I asked him to tell me how. Tell you how? I'll show you how, he said. He pulled a really old recipe book off the kitchen shelf. Inside, there was a worn-out scrap of paper with the faded writing. Dad held it up and squinted at it. Enemy pie, he said, satisfied. You may be wondering what exactly is an enemy pie. I was wondering too, but Dad said the recipe was so secret. He couldn't even tell me. I decided it must be magic. I begged him to tell me something, anything. I will tell you this, he said. Enemy pie is the fastest known way to get rid of enemies. Now, of course, this got my mind working. What kinds of things, disgusting things, would I put into a pie for an enemy? I brought Dad some weeds from the garden, but he just shook his head. I brought him earthworms and rocks, but he didn't think he'd need those. I gave him the gum I'd been chewing all morning. He gave it right back to me. I went out to play alone. I shot baskets until the ball got stuck on the roof. I threw a boomerang that never came back to me. And all the while, I listened to the sounds of my dad chopping and stirring and blending the ingredients of enemy pie. This could be a great summer after all. Enemy pie was going to be awful. I tried to imagine how horrible it must smell. Or worse yet, what it would look like. But I was in the backyard looking for ladybugs. I smelled something really, really, really good. And as far as I could tell, it was coming from the kitchen. I was a bit confused. I went in to ask Dad what was wrong. Enemy pie shouldn't smell this good. But Dad was smart. If enemy pie smelled bad, your enemy would never eat it. Sorry. You slide it, yeah. I could tell he'd made enemy pie before. The buzzer rang, and Dad put on the oven mitts and pulled the pie out of the oven. It looked like plain old pie. It looked good enough to eat. I was catching on. But still, I wasn't really sure how this enemy pie worked. What exactly did it do to enemies? Maybe it made the hair fall out, or the breath stinky. Maybe I made bullies cry. I asked Dad, but he was no help. He wouldn't tell me a thing. But while the pie cooled, he filled me in on my job. He talked quietly. There's one part of enemy pie that I can't do in order for it to work. You need to spend a day with your enemy. Even worse, you have to be nice to him. It's not easy, but that's the only way that enemy pie can work. Are you sure you want to go through with this? Of course I was. It sounded horrible. It was scary, but it was worth a try. All I had to do was spend one day with Jeremy Ross. Then he'd be out of my hair for the rest of my life. I rode my bike to his house and knocked on the door. So, I'm going to pause for a second. Can you guys tell me what key details you've noticed from the book? Yeah?
Jeremy Ross is the enemy.
Yeah, yes. Anything else?
the main character has to spend a day with him, and he's not excited.
Yeah.
And another one is him and his dad preparing, well, more like his dad preparing enemy pie
They're
for
making
Jeremy
enemy
Ross.
pie. Yes. Those are all great details. When Jeremy opened the door, when Jeremy opened the door, he stood on the other side of the screen door and looked at me, waiting for me to say something. I was nervous. Can you play? I asked. He looked confused. I'll go ask my mom, he said. He came back with his shoes in his hand. His mom walked around the corner to say hello. You boys stay out of trouble, she said, smiling. We rode bikes for a while and played on the trampoline. Then we made some water balloons, threw them at the neighbor girls, but we missed. Jeremy's mom made us lunch. After lunch, we went over to my house. It was strange, but I was kind of having fun with my enemy. He almost seemed nice, but of course, I couldn't tell Dad that, since he had worked so hard to make this enemy pie. Jeremy Ross liked my basketball hoop. He said he wished he had a basketball hoop, but they didn't have room for one. I let him win a game just to be nice. Jeremy Ross knew how to throw a boomerang. He threw it, and it came right back to him. I threw it, and it went over my house and into the backyard. When we climbed over the fence to find it, the first thing Jeremy noticed was my treehouse. My treehouse was my treehouse. I was the boss. If my sister walked in, I didn't have to let her. If my dad wanted in, I didn't have to let him. And if Jeremy wanted in, can we go in it? He asked. I knew he was going to ask me that, but he was the top person, the only person on my enemy list, and enemies weren't allowed in my treehouse. But he did teach me to throw a boomerang, and he did have me over for lunch, and he did let me play on his trampoline. He wasn't being a very good enemy. Okay, I said, but hold on. I climbed up ahead of him and tore the enemy list off the wall. I had a checkerboard and some cards in the treehouse, and we played games until my dad called us down for dinner. We pretended we didn't hear him, and when he came out to get us, we tried to hide from him, but somehow he found us. Did you guys ever hide from your parents when you were playing with friends?
Yes, absolutely. And grandma.
Dad made us macaroni and cheese for dinner, my favorite. It was Jeremy's favorite too. Maybe Jeremy Ross wasn't so bad after all. I was beginning to think maybe we should just forget about enemy pie. But sure enough, after dinner, Dad brought out the pie. I watched as he cut the pie into 8 thick slices. Dad, I said, it sure is nice having a new friend in the neighborhood. I was trying to get his attention and trying to tell him that Jeremy Ross was no longer my enemy. But Dad smiled and nodded. I think he thought I was just pretending.
Could you imagine stress?
Cardiac arrest.
Dad dished up 3 plates, side by side, with big pieces of pie and giant scoops of ice cream. Passed one to me and one to Jeremy. Wow, Jeremy said, looking at the pie. My dad never makes pie like this.
Oh.
I was at this point that I panicked. I didn't want Jeremy to eat enemy pie. He was my friend. I couldn't let him eat it. Jeremy, don't eat it. It's bad pie. I think it's poisonous or something. Jeremy's fork stopped before reaching his mouth. He crumpled his eyebrows and looked at me funny. I felt relieved. I saved his life. I was a hero. If it's so bad, Jeremy asked, then why has your dad already eaten half of it? I turned to look at my dad. Sure enough, he was eating enemy pie. Good stuff, he mumbled through a mouthful, and that was all he said. I sat there watching them eat enemy pie for a few seconds. Dad was laughing, Jeremy was happily eating, and neither of them was losing any hair. It seemed safe enough. I took a tiny taste. Enemy pie was delicious. After dessert, Jeremy rode his bike home, but not before having me over to play on his trampoline in the morning, or inviting me. He said he'd teach me how to flip. As for enemy pie, I still don't know how to make it. I still wonder if enemies really do hate it or if their hair falls out or their breath turns bad, but I don't know if I'll ever get an answer because I just lost my best enemy. So, after reading that, and after we went over and looked at some of the key details, what do you think the theme of this story is? It's a general statement, yeah?
Don't judge a book by its cover.
Yeah. Do you think that would be a theme, or maybe that's more of a main idea?
Main idea, probably.
Main idea? So what do you think the theme is? A
Friendship?
general topic. Yeah, exactly. Friendship. So they started as enemies, but with the key details we went through, we learned that he didn't need to judge him based on what he briefly knew. It took him to know him to figure out that they were good friends. So you guys did a really good job identifying the details and finding the main idea and the topic and the theme. Good job.